from our guy over here, Lalo.
Wait, Lalo.
Lalo is, he's the Superman of trim guys. Well, you're Superman.
I think so.
Yeah, so let's talk about governing lines. And what we mean by governing lines, it's a point in the house that governs what happens left, what happens right, what happens above, and what happens below. So this is a very good example of a governing line. And if you look closely at this architectural set of plans by Benjamin Johnston Design, who we love, we have some scallop columns, and this is our governing line here. And if you look up, I'll show you what that means and what that is. So our governing line sets the mark for the ceiling trim height going this way into the kitchen, and it also sets the height of our scallops. Now, when we're looking at the scallops, we understand that we have 5 equal scallops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have the same on the opposite side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you can see there's a gap in the middle. Well, these scallops govern the size of this center piece, which will be a flat piece of trim. We have our 5 scallops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the governing scallops for the size of this trim. Now that we know that, we can apply what we know to each of the column spaces. So I'm going to climb over here somehow and show you what we're talking about.
I'm going around.
Yep, you go around. I'm going in between. I'm cutting through traffic. Okay, so we have, again, our column here. And if you look back over here, Mel, I don't know if you can, you see this piece here? This is our flat board that we just talked about. This is 10 inches. We're going to apply this 10 inches to every condition of scalloping columns. And you can see we left the frame small so that we could build our scallops out on each side. So again, that one section of ceiling height and scallop column actually governs the rest of what we're doing in this area. So this is exactly what it will look like, right? So we have a small template down here, and this is what we're going to fill out. We're going to extend this with frame material and build out our columns. Same thing over here. We left space here on the framing, and we're going to build out with trim material. These columns then will extend from this point. So now these columns govern what's going to happen above. And we also have columns that extend on the second floor. So before we slap a bunch of trim up, we have to identify, the trim guys who are like absolute pros, identify what governs the next move. And they did exactly that. So they picked a point on the trim that governed the kitchen ceiling trim height. They also built out the columns, the fluted columns, to govern the size of the middle piece. And they started from the bottom floor, the first floor, to then govern the size of the columns that extend through the second floor. So that's a lot of information. But it's critically important that we know that, because you can imagine the expense of messing this up, which we're not going to go there. So these guys think through all of the minor details, work out a plan, execute a plan, review the plan with us and the architects and designers, and here we are, and this thing's going to be a killer atrium.